You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
I spent my early years defending insurance companies, defending hospitals, defending nursing homes. I was appalled at what I learned when I did this work. The lies, the deceit, the cover-ups, the absolute refusal to take responsibility when they hurt, maimed, or even killed people, including children.
She's an advocate supreme. Compassion and with conviction is her direction. Helping those who feel powerless against bully corporations causing us harm. No need to be frightened nor anxious. Attorney Kirsten R. Daniel is in your corner and in our iHeart studio tonight on this edition of Ask a Lawyer. Next.
Welcome to Ask a Lawyer, a service of the Louisville Bar Association and the Institute for Legal Studies at Sullivan University. It's the show for everyday people with everyday questions on the law. And now, here's your host, Randy Bullitt.
And let your worries be fleeting. Our guest, Kirsten Daniel, is here with answers to help you begin a process of healing physically, emotionally, making your life once again whole again. And welcome tonight to Ask a Lawyer. It's the show for everyday people with everyday questions on the law. We're coming to you live from iHeart Studios here in Louisville. Ask a Lawyer, a service of the Louisville Bar Association, a century-old organization serving Louisville and its surrounding communities. Tonight it's Ask a Lawyer. We're going to be with you for the next hour to take your calls and questions on legal matters affecting your lives. Now it's time to turn to our guest in the studio spotlight tonight, standing in the light of her vocation positioning theme as posted on her firm website that is making a difference now and in the future for you. A focus to help others whose lives have been compromised and impaired through no fault of their own. She is born and raised Cincinnati, Ohio, yet has in her profession flown far from the nest as a fierce trial lawyer, trying cases as far as New York, Kansas, and of course for you, here as well in Kentucky and in Indiana. On behalf of everyday people in all walks of life, she has success for her clients in matters of roadway and trucking accidents, as well as case prevailed in malpractice cases against some of America's most leading corporations surrounding the most demanding and intellective medical subject matter of physician and medical specialized areas in the field of modern medicine. In her nearly 25 years of experience, she has traveled about this America deposing in investigative fashion some of the nation's leading experts in obstetrics, neonatal care, neurosurgery, cardiovascular, and orthopedic surgery as well. Through her years of legal experience and by knowledge built into dimension by her just doing, our guest unrelenting tenacity provides an added premium, a multifaceted range and unique perspective of law in representing you as her client. Not only an attorney, herself a mother, a wife, her family, all impetus, allowing her to be especially passionate and understanding, helping the most disadvantaged and the most vulnerable members of the Louisville community, especially our children, placed in harm's way, stricken by careless negligence. A law graduate of the University of Louisville Brandeis School of Law, she's licensed to practice in both Indiana and Kentucky. She served on the Board of Governors for the Kentucky Justice Association, which since 1954, an association that is dedicated to protecting the health and safety of Kentucky families. And tonight, the Louisville Bar Association, in cooperation with the Institute for Legal Studies at Sullivan University, welcomes into these iHeart studios in Louisville attorney Kirsten R. Daniel. Welcome, Kirsten. Kirsten, we opened the broadcast tonight with an audio piece that at least I found, I'm sure others listening would probably conclude as well, not only disturbing, but I'll go as far as to say almost horror-like egregious. And as a result, you have in your life dedicated your profession addressing all of this and have moved to, in your profession, to help those who have been imposed upon, damaged, injured in their weakness and their lack of knowledge as to how to pursue in a formidable way these weaknesses. And as the renowned Bible verse in Matthew states, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." You have come to their aid. Your comments?
I think that this is what I was meant to do. Actually, the first job, thank you for the introduction, the first job I had out of law school was as a public defender, which was an amazing experience and taught me so much. And it was in the criminal realm, doing the same thing I do now, helping people who are powerless against the more powerful. That was an amazing experience I did for about 4 years before I moved into the civil realm of medical malpractice and complex litigation. But I love your verse at the beginning of this. I have been so blessed in both my personal life and my professional life at what I've been able to accomplish and able to do.
Kirsten, please acquaint our audience in your practice today. Roadway incidents, particularly trucking accidents, also malpractice issues, loads of experience at that, daycare issues surrounding the protective element of our children in daycares. Today, what predominantly occupies your time more than anything?
I am very lucky to be able to pick what cases I work on.
Yeah, that's a luxury.
Yes.
You paid your dues for that.
Yes, I actually did. Correct.
And we're going to get into that. There's some landmark cases, amazing cases you've been involved in. Carry on, if you will.
Again, I've been very, very lucky to work with some amazing lawyers who have helped me along the way and helped me train to do what I do. But my particular passion now that I really am allowed to pick what I do is protecting children and trying to help children when they have been hurt or even worse, killed, and trying to, more importantly, make our community safer for our kids. Because even before I'm an attorney, I'm a mom. So I think that has shaped me. I've always wanted to help people who are vulnerable. And now that I was an attorney in 94, I didn't have my first baby until 99, but now being able to pick my cases, I really, really put a preference on cases where babies and kids and young ones have been hurt or killed.
Kirsten, this is certainly your hour tonight on Ask a Lawyer, and surrounding your practice focus and how you and your firm can help those surrounding sensitive issues of how they were harmed in our community and surrounding communities. Please let our listeners know at this time all the ways that they can contact you and your firm. Go ahead and give the name of your law firm. I know you're located down a very, very wonderful location down on 4th Street at Meitinger Tower. So let us know the many ways, the website, email, telephone, and other ways that you want to divulge to let our clients know how they may reach you.
So my firm is Clay, Daniel, Walton, and Adams. I work with amazing attorneys, my partners, and I do all different kinds of law, but we all do try to protect the rights of the vulnerable, civil rights, and when any person, children especially for me, have been hurt, injured, or killed. It's Clay, Daniel, Walton, Adams. We're in Meitinger Tower downtown on 4th Street Live. Our website is, I think I'm getting older, so I'm not great at websites, but I think it's Clay, Daniel, Walton, Adams. My Facebook is Kirsten Daniel. My email is Kirsten, which is Kirsten, at justiceky.com. Our phone number is 502-561-2005, and both my Facebook and my website, my personal website, is www.louisvillemedmalattorney.com. And I think if you just Google Kirsten Daniel, you'll find that. It's interactive, and we respond to questions. Actually, I kind of work 24/7, which is not always good, but I respond to emails and text messages pretty much constantly. because honestly, this is my passion. I love it. And so when I'm not with my kids at that moment, I would rather be working and helping other people's kids. So anyway, you can reach us all the time, pretty much 24/7.
Kirsten, I can't get over how calm you were. I was getting a little bit, getting my papers and details together, and you were so calm before the show started. And you said, "Remember, Randy, I'm a trial lawyer." And I guess that is one of the assets that you got to have, a gift that you have to have. You have to remain calm and collective, because that is I can't imagine in the heat of a trial, the demands on you at times, you have to, the precept, thinking on your feet, really has to come into play on that.
I can't tell you how fun it is. I also can't tell you probably how stressful it is, but I love it. I can't tell you how much I love it. So many attorneys don't ever go into the courtroom because it truly is really stressful. I'm finding that out. Yeah, but it is the most awesome thing in the world. I mean, can you imagine being able to go into a courtroom and hopefully help somebody and bring some equality to what's happened to them? I mean, in my mind, it's the greatest gift that I could be given, to be able to go into the courtroom. So yes, it's like my husband's like, "You said you love it, but you seem really stressed when you're staying up all night." And I'm like, "I'm in trial. If I go to sleep, I might miss one tiny thing that could, make my client be more whole in their life, or in my public defender days, or make them go to jail or prison for the rest of their life. I mean, why would I go to sleep? This is the best job anyone could have," in my humble opinion.
We're here tonight with Kirsten R. Daniel, attorney, here on Ask a Lawyer. An attorney experienced, uniquely insightful in her approach to giving you, her client, a best chance for a speedy recovery, both in your injury and in your compensation. You need to make you again whole to carry on with your life. We're going to be taking a short break. Ken, let's take it at a break. We'll be right back with Kirsten Daniel after these messages.
Where Louisville comes to talk. Talk Radio 1080.
And popular British-Irish boy band, One Direction, with their hit single, "Story of My Life," story of our lives. From time to time, we do have some legal issues that we need to address in our lives, and that's why we are here. And Sherry, it looks like you're here with us as well. Sherry, welcome to Ask a Lawyer. You're on with Kirsten R. Daniel.
Hi, I was calling to see if you did medical malpractice.
Yes, I do medical malpractice. I've actually done medical malpractice for over 18 years.
Okay, and what do you specialize in?
I don't specialize in any particular area of medical malpractice. I have probably done every area you can think about in med mal.
Okay.
Sherry, did you have a question for our guests concerning medical malpractice?
Yeah, I just was wondering what you do and how you if someone's made an error in a hospital, how you go about contacting something when something like that's gone on with a loved one.
So if something bad happens to your loved one or yourself in the hospital or the nursing home setting, of course you can call our office at 561-2005 or contact me through my Facebook page. I am always very, very happy to talk to people when they have had a problem. I encourage everyone, if you have a loved one in the hospital or a nursing home, to try to be there as much as possible, because honestly, from my experience of almost 20 years, both on the defense side of medical malpractice and on the plaintiff or patient side, they pay more attention to you and or your loved one if someone is there in the room, and if possible, and I'm not kidding, I hate to say it's this scary, but it is, 24/7. If something does happen, I would encourage anyone to call me right away. I have heard so many times in my life that people are intimidated by lawyers, and I would say, please don't be intimidated by me. I grew up with nothing. worked my way through all this, and I'm here for the people who grew up like me with nobody there to help them and against maybe sometimes powerful people.
And 5 children to keep her humble.
Yeah, correct. So I would encourage you to have someone in that hospital, in that nursing home, recording what's going on, getting your medical records ASAP, and not being intimidated or afraid to call me. I have people call me saying, I hated to call you. I don't want to bother you. Please bother me. That's my job. I am here to try to help you and your family. So please call me and never, ever worry about picking up that phone or emailing me, because that's what I'm here for. Get your records, take care of your babies, and I'll help you.
We're here tonight with special guest attorney Kirsten R. Daniel. Our guest here on Ask a Lawyer this edition. Kirsten, I certainly want to get into the subject matter that is a primary focus of your law practice, that is clients today who are victims sustaining injury, the physical, the emotional, the long-term injury in roadway accidents involving the trucking industry, common freight carriers as they're called, and as well some of the issues surrounding negligence in daycare facilities. But before we do that, you've handled some incredible cases, some landmark cases in your wide spectrum, shall we say, of experience. Cases that are not only fascinating, but certainly landmark as well, some unfortunate for some that are victims. And one of those cases, that renowned case that occurred in Mount Washington, Kentucky, some years ago, involving your remarkable representation of a child, of an 18-year-old, to me, a child, Louise Ogborn. And as we covered in your introduction, your dedication to serving those whose lives have been compromised, whose lives are vulnerable. Certainly she is one of those at such a young age where she was horridly victimized by being induced into in a hoax strip search in a fraudulent scheme by a pretend-to-be police officer at a McDonald's restaurant. No doubt for her a terrifying experience, one that could certainly leave a scarring impression upon such a young person, needing lengthy time for her to heal. Kirsten, looking back to that experience, how was that? I know you're limited on disclosure of details, but generally, how was a case like that, like this, resolved? And do you have any idea how Louise might be doing today?
I think that is an incredibly good thing to talk about right now, given all of the sexual harassment coming out in the news and women hopefully becoming more empowered. It's taken a long time. I was truly blessed to work on that case. Ann Oldfather, I worked for her at the time, and she let me try that case with her, and it was an amazing experience. I learned so much from Ann Oldfather, as well as just from that case. One thing I would say to all victims of any type of sexual harassment or sexual abuse, especially the young ones like Louise, who is such a precious girl, now woman, is that probably more important than even the verdict was, once Louise got up on the stand and told her story and had people stand up for her, and she's allowed me to say this, and Ann, is that after she got off the stand, it was so emotional, and she got to tell her story. We got to fight for her in front of the jury. She said, I don't care what that jury says anymore. Being able to get up and tell my story and having people fight for me made all this worth it. Sorry, I get emotional.
Yeah, I'm starting to get. I really am. I'm getting choked up too. That was a case to be choked up about. That was an amazing case. I mean, she had to be.
Girl.
She's a kid. She had to be terrified in that.
That's
why I brought it up.
Yeah.
You should be proud of your. That was an amazing case, and not everyone gets a chance to defend a young, vulnerable human being like that, and you did, and was you did a great job.
Yeah, we were lucky to be part of that. It was an awesome experience for all of us, and I think that Louise was such a well-grounded, good girl that she did well. I think that helped her to go through the litigation experience. Believe it or not, it's very stressful, but it can be empowering.
Kirsten, let's go now to another area of your law focus. It is a rather disturbing aspect involving children in our society today. Unfortunately, has its victims preschool children, even babies in daycare facilities. Ken, let's go to audio soundbite number 2.
I wish we could tell you this was fake. In this infuriatingly hard-to-watch video, a woman flings around a baby like old clothes, stuffs a rag in another child's mouth, and even picks one girl up by her head. Unfortunately, what you're watching is all too real, and the parents of the abused never saw it coming.
I thought she was a great person, a great daycare provider, that I trusted her completely.
Kirsten, that piece of audio from a Crime Watch television series. You not only being an experienced attorney in these matters, but fortunately in an entitled position, a mother as well, representing and relating to all mothers with compassion. Ken, let's go to audio soundbite number 3.
Leaving my baby on that first day, and really every day after that, was terrifying to me. That's because I had already done many daycare cases where people who put their most precious child, their baby, into the hands of other people that you don't know. As much research as you think you've done on a daycare does not tell you the true story. I have handled daycare cases where babies have been hurt, abused, bullied, even killed. I handled the case where the daycare had a van that was inappropriate and not safe, where they stuffed 17 children and babies into the daycare van in order to make more profits for that daycare.
Sadly, Kirsten, I remember that case well. Another incredible job, another incredible involvement by you in a case right here in Louisville. Your comments.
As I think you know by now, my passion is children and the vulnerable, not just the children and the elderly, the most vulnerable in our society who are exploited, unfortunately, the most. I had to put my own babies in daycare. It is terrifying. You don't know what will happen. What I say to my moms and dads who have to come to me after something horrible has happened because they feel that guilt of putting their baby in harm's way, it's our job to take care of our babies. I tell them that we can only do the best that we can do, and a mom and a dad, they always blame themselves, even if their child got hurt, across the country, and there's obviously nothing they could do to stop it. Here's what we can do as a community is hold the daycares accountable, hold the cabinet and the Commonwealth accountable as best we can, because the cabinet is supposed to be monitoring many of these daycares, and they have done a very, very bad job many times of doing that. The cabinet this gets very technical and legal, cabinet who's supposed to be watching these daycares, especially the ones who get the 4C assistance, which is the most vulnerable of our community, and the ones with the least ability to shout out when something goes wrong. The cabinet's supposed to be watching this, and I try to hold the cabinet accountable. There's a lot of immunity issues. They can't even be sued in a lot of instances. So that's another example of the cabinet being powerful, not policing what it's supposed to police, and then people running daycares taking advantage of that and trying to get money in exchange for risking children's lives and the workers in those daycares' lives. It's tragic.
Kirsten Daniel, our guest. We'll be right back after these messages. And the main title theme song from L.A. Law brings us back into the third and final segment of tonight's broadcast. We're here with Kirsten R. Daniel with the firm of Clay Daniel, Walton, and Adams. Kirsten, let's get right to it. The trucking industry. They're known as big rigs, 18-wheelers, accidents that involve these large trucks, if not handled properly. Responsible drivers, that's what we seek, hopefully, to find, but it doesn't always work that way. In the event that it's that a driver's ability is compromised for whatever reason, a large truck can indeed become the equivalent of a moving vehicular time bomb on our roadways. the American Trucking Association itself, with their bragging rights, reporting statistics, that the industry as a whole, they call themselves the lifeblood of the U.S. economy. I can believe that to an extent, moving over 70% of some 10.4 billions of tonnage of freight in a single year. However, as we know as well, there are obviously responsibilities and risks associated with the bragging rights by the trucking industry, and unfortunately not living up to the accountability that they are charged to give us on those roads in those accidents. Ken, let's go to audio soundbite number 4.
When you're dealing with a trucking outfit, a commercial operator, one of the things that they're focused on doing is they're focused on getting their product to market as soon as possible and as inexpensively as possible. And the way that they do that is by cutting corners. They look at all of the federal regulations, they look at all the state regulations, they look at all the local regulations. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll ignore them. When you have, an operator who may be fatigued, who may be driving too fast, that opportunity for a serious accident it's there.
Kirsten, that point of view, our perspective from an industry analyst out of Chicago, Illinois. Kirsten, hand in hand with that response from that analyst, let's now address your response. Ken, let's go to audio soundbite number 5.
If there is a truck wreck on our highways, you need an attorney who will go there immediately. Valuable evidence is lost within days of that wreck. You need an attorney who knows the accident reconstructionists and can get them there on the site immediately, who can recreate that wreck and show exactly what happened. Because believe me, the trucking companies will get out their big guns and try to make every excuse about how it's not their fault. The trucking companies will doctor their driver's logs, believe me. The trucking companies will lie and they will hide evidence. You need an attorney who is willing, able, and ready and has the resources to go in immediately to preserve that evidence, to preserve that black box in the truck, and who knows all of the intricate rules and regulations that apply to trucks. Trucks are not cars. The same rules do not apply to cars that apply to trucks. Trucks can cause damage infinitely more horrible than cars. Trucks are dangerous. There are ways to make them safe. The trucking companies decide not to do that, and it's a conscious decision. The reason is simple. Follow the money.
Now, Kirsten, how is that for completing the last piece of the puzzle? That's exactly what we talked about on break. The timing is everything in a trucking accident as far as gathering evidence. Your comments to this, please.
Yeah, the timing is everything. And also, I liked what you mentioned about what the trucking industry said, that they're the lifeline of our country's economy. Again, follow the money. They're more worried about the money than keeping us safe. A truck truly is a ticking time bomb. It is like a gun that is able to kill everyone in its path if the proper safety regulations aren't in place. And the trucking industry ignores that. You have to have an attorney who immediately knows what to do, because the evidence is lost almost within, honestly, minutes, days. You have to secure the truck, you have to secure the trailer, you have to know all of the trucking guidelines and the federal guidelines. Interestingly, if you do these jobs long enough with medical malpractice or with trucking industry, you get to know the defense attorneys. I used to be a defense attorney on this, so I know these things. I was talking to a big trucking company defense attorney as we were mediating a case, and he said, I can't tell you how many 50 million plus cases I get a year. And I said, oh my gosh, y'all paying out that much on these cases? He goes, no, because these plaintiffs' attorneys have no idea what they're worth. I can settle a $50 million case for $500,000 because the plaintiffs' attorneys don't know what to do, don't secure the evidence, don't get the experts, don't even understand the federal regulations. A truck case is completely different than a car wreck. Car wrecks can be complex too, and you need a good lawyer, but truck cases are more like your medical malpractice and products liability cases. Very complex. You need an attorney who truly knows exactly what they're doing, and you need an attorney that these insurance companies for both the hospitals and the trucking companies know what their track record is, and heck, in my case, used to hire them to represent themselves.
Kirsten, the United States, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration reported in a recent year and in a single year that of the nearly 420,000 police-reported crashes involving large trucks, nearly 4,000 of those crashes resulted in death, and some 83,000 more resulted in injury. Kirsten, based on the audio, I want you to get in a little bit about the medical aspect of the medical reporting. But in your experience, based on the audio we heard and the testimonial and your follow-up as well to that initial audio, what has been your experience here closer to our community as to the rudimentary cause of those accidents and your experience in representing a client, dealing with the posture? When you represent a client, you're dealing with the posture and addressing head-on. No pun intended, speaking of trucks, but you're dealing with the trucking companies and their representatives pursuing justice and making your client whole. Your comments?
Well, there's no way to make a family whole that's lost a family member. And so often, because of simple physics, when a truck hits a car, you're going to have catastrophic damage and many, many times death, not of the truck driver, but of the occupants of that car. The most common cause for these wrecks, when you go and do a root cause analysis, is fatigue and impairment of the truck driver. Fatigue causes impairment equal to drug and alcohol use of over the legal limit. And these trucking companies are pushing their truck drivers to drive over the time limits allowed by the federal government. They are falsifying logbooks, which you need to get a hold of immediately as well, which is when I referenced get on the case immediately.
Do we have time to get in a question here, Ken? We've got Leah. Leah, welcome to Ask a Lawyer. We're going to try a quick question, hopefully a successfully quick response from our guest, Kirsten. Leah, are you on with us?
Yes. I was just calling to see if you did car wrecks here local in Louisville. My friend was just in a car accident this past weekend, and she's in the hospital right now and has some broken bones and fractures.
So, yes, I handle car wrecks as well. Normally, I handle car wrecks where there's very, very significant injuries. Again, like I would tell anyone, if there's any problem that you have, secure an attorney who's qualified as quickly as you can, get the evidence, get the medical records, and stay with your person in the hospital, because you don't want to have a car wreck and then also have medical mistakes happen. I hate to say mistakes because they're more conscious than that, but make sure you take care of that person, number one, and part of that is getting a qualified lawyer right away.
Leah, we're in the deep stretch on the show tonight. You're in the cool-down period. We're running out of time, but go ahead and give Leah your information so she can follow up and contact you regarding her question and for more information.
So it's Kirsten Daniel, 502-561-2005. It is my email, easy, Kirsten, Kirsten, at justiceky.com, and our phone number 561-2005. You can call us anytime. You can email me 24/7, and I pretty much, unfortunately, always respond pretty quick.
Thank you, Leah, for your call tonight, and thank all of you for listening to this edition of Ask a Lawyer. We'll be here with you again next Tuesday night, same time, here on Talk 1080. Until then, I'm Randy Bullis saying good night for Ask a Lawyer from iHeart Studio here in Louisville.